The recent vote in India, the world's biggest democracy, was dubbed the WhatsApp election. In America, it has been said that Trump would never have become president without the help of Facebook. And in Germany, in the run-up to the European Parliament election, one YouTuber posted a video railing against the conservative CDU party. It dominated the final days of its campaign. What effect do social media have on democracy? Are YouTube, Facebook and co. threatening free society? Our topic on Shift today. $2.6 billion people worldwide use Facebook, Instagram or WhatsApp at least once a day. I know, I do. Social platforms are actually the main place where many teenagers get their news. But it's important to check sources and facts, because especially in social media, it's often unclear where a post comes from. What comes up on our newsfeed isn't random. Facebook and co. carefully tailor content to individuals' interests and tastes. The companies have a profile on every user. Each time we click on something, we leave clues about our likes and dislikes, and our profiles get more and more detailed. So if you think you're in full control of what you see online, I'm afraid that you're mistaken.
All social media companies make money with effectively placed ads that are individually tailored to user profiles. They know what kind of car users drive, who's just had a baby, and who is planning a world trip. So-called micro-targeting can sway a user without them even noticing. Politicians also target their constituents, but online it's often hard to recognize political ads.
When the margin of an election is narrow, with just a few votes tipping the scale, like what just happened in Michigan or Wisconsin, it's all about mobilizing every last voter. Solid data analysis can make a political communication strategy more effective.
This is where social media profiles become a tool for focusing campaign ads. Car drivers want lower fuel costs, young parents want safer neighborhoods, and someone planning a world trip is probably well off and would be happy if taxes were lower. Targeting ads have long played an important role in campaigning.
Micro-targeting is constantly developing. George W. Bush used it during his 2004 campaign, as did Obama in 2008, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in 2016.
Now, you could argue that micro-targeting is a good thing. For instance, I don't own a car, so I don't care about new car ads at all. But what if that makes an algorithm think I'm not interested in any car-related news? What about exhaust fumes or new e-mobility technologies? But knowledge is power, and people should be able to choose what information they access. Plus, they should be provided balanced views. On social media, this is often not the case. Like on Twitter, where a far-right German minority repeatedly manages to skew discussions.
This is how it goes. Someone posts a news item saying that Mohammed is the most popular name in Germany's capital, Berlin. The information goes viral on social media and takes on new meaning, with far-right users saying it confirms their fear that Germany is being flooded by foreigners. According to a new study, almost half of the items posted on social media platforms lean towards the extreme right, and yet only 10% of users belong to extreme right parties.
The danger is that posts that reflect people's anger create even more anger, which then ends up in established journalism.
This happened after a far-right politician had posted another news item and disparaged the fact that there was now a halal version of a famous Swiss chocolate, prepared according to the precepts of Islam. The post was shared thousands of times and even turned up in serious daily papers. In this case, social media helped far-right politicians spread their worldview.
Social media play an important role in political discourse, and users and politicians alike need to know how to handle that. One great example for how not to handle things is what happened in Germany in the run-up to the European Parliament election. YouTuber Rezo has 1.6 million followers and is known for his political commentary. You'll normally find him rapping, or telling jokes. But shortly before the election, he posted a video that quickly went viral and mortified politicians. In a blistering tirade, Rezo dismantled Germany's largest conservative party, the CDU. Of course, they were not amused. But what the party's reaction to the video really showed was, most German politicians still don't know how to deal with social media.
The internet is still uncharted territory for us.
My favorite quote by Merkel. What's it like in your country? Are your politicians also still overwhelmed with the internet?
In this video, I'm going to show how CDU politicians lie, how they lack basic skills for their job, how they make policies against expert opinion, that they've participated in war crimes, and how they use propaganda and misinformation against younger generations.
Strong words, followed by an awkward aftermath. The CDU responded to the YouTube video with a PDF, 11 pages long. And then the party's leader called for rules for digital spaces.
The question is clear if you consider populism. What rules do we apply in the analog sphere and which rules apply to digital spaces?
Critics say this means the CDU party supports online censorship. But Rezo did exactly what daily newspaper commentators would do. He stated his opinion. Paradoxically, politicians then began discussing whether Rezo's comments warrant being discussed at all. Quite a foolhardy approach. Meanwhile, the online community began discussing what Rezo had said, not how he had said it. His video was shared, commented, dissected and praised. Most content-related debate took place online without politicians. German politicians have a lot to catch up on. I think it's definitely better to join a conversation than to censor it. Controlling social media and restricting freedom of expression already exists. In China, social media is much more a part of everyday life. Over 800 million people log on each day. But the government closely monitors what users do there.
International social media companies grew immensely over the past decade. But in China, Western platforms are not used. The country has its own. Instead of Facebook, YouTube and WhatsApp, there's WeChat, Sina Weibo and Youku. Digital activist Xiao Qiang gives some insight as to why.
The advantage of those Chinese domestic companies are they promise the government they have a capacity to censor and control online contents. So they will listen to the government, they will actually preemptively deleting a lot of contents before the internet police even take a look.
Chinese social media providers monitor their own platforms, and censorship is getting stricter. Shopping and browsing are permitted. But content which could shape public political opinion is closely censored, and anyone who directly criticizes the Chinese government faces harsh sanctions. Like Zhang Haitao, a human rights defender sentenced to 19 years imprisonment. He had criticized Beijing's persecution of Uyghur Muslims. His WeChat messages were used as evidence against him in court.
After the Arab Spring, Chinese government, that's where they really felt threatened. So any information, any activities using the social media to coordinate collective action, to express that kind of political opinion is under severe punishment.
The government has largely succeeded in eliminating the topics of data protection and privacy from public debate.
Privacy is no discussion in China because the government preventing such a large-scale discussion in the civil society. And for the ordinary Chinese consumers, they have no option.
This is how China has created a system in which social media does not promote democracy.
That's unsettling. But what about countries without the same centralized censorship as China? Are social media more neutral and reliable there? Are they a safe place for political opinions? Let's look at South America. Users there can access any social platform they like, and they do. Often. 246 million people use Facebook and co. at least once a day in South America, far more than in the US or EU. So it's not surprising that social media has a big impact on political opinion. But it seems state interference is also a problem. Venezuelan human rights activist Mariana Diaz-Hernandez explains.
In Latin American governments are biggest producers of misinformation. And this happens with governments, with political forces, also from opposition parties within Latin America, and also, of course, with big media conglomerates. But the broadest aspects of misinformation do not come from society.
Digital rights activist Mariana Diaz-Hernandez says that in Latin America, governments do not censor social media. But that does not mean freedom of speech isn't under threat.
Governments are using the excuse of furthering regulations about hate speech and information disorders as a way to control political opinions.
The governments decide what counts as fake news and hate speech, no evidence required. In effect, this allows them to regulate social media content.
For instance, if you say something about the president that implies that you sort of hate the president, then that can be hate speech. Then it becomes a political thing. And that's not what hate speech is about. Hate speech is about, first and foremost, protecting minorities.
Critical opinions can thus simply be dismissed as hate speech or misinformation. And the government monitoring what should be a free space in this way can keep politicians in power while undermining the principle of democracy.
Social media and democracy, a difficult topic. Can social media strengthen democracy? On the positive side, social platforms make it quick and easy for anyone to exchange ideas, join discussions and gather information. They can actively take part in political debate. On the negative side, companies and politicians are controlling what content we see. Micro-targeting makes it easier to manipulate people than ever before. Right-wing populists can skew public debate by constantly bringing their topics to the forefront of our discussions. Plus, governments like China are monitoring and limiting activity. What do you think? Is social media helping or hurting democracy? I love exchange, as long as we stay aware that Facebook and co. don't offer a balanced view. And you can find more digital topics on our YouTube channel. See you there. Bye-bye.